Hi, I'm Georgia Shaffer. At the age of 38, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, had surgery, and when the cancer returned 6 months later, I was given a 2% chance to be alive in 10 years. My son, Kyle, was only 9 years old at the time, which meant I had a 2% chance to see him graduate from high school. According to the doctors, my only hope for long-term survival was chemotherapy, radiation, and a bone marrow transplant. One doctor said, "Georgia, there's a fine line between killing you or killing the cancer." And he was right. They took me right up to that fine line. When the treatments were complete, I was in remission. But as my son described me many years later, he said, "Mom, you are a ghost in a shell." My husband and I were separated, then divorced, and because I was too weak to return to work, I lost my job. It didn't take me too long to learn that my abilities and my efforts would only take me so far. And seeking the most talented and the brightest of doctors, that didn't fix everything either. And I knew pretty early on in the process that my only hope was Jesus. I can't tell you how many days during all those treatments I would bury my head in my hands and I just cried out, "This is too hard, God. I can't do this. This is too hard. Please help." And he did. He gave me the strength to keep on keeping on and to persevere. I learned that things like God's peace and hope are real. For example, during the bone marrow transplant, during one week, I got a fever of 104, and my fever just permeated every ounce of my body. I just desperately wanted that biting chill to go away. And again, I just kept praying to God, please let me live. I want to be a mother to my son, Kyle. And at one point during that week where my fever kept spiking up to 104, I just had this beautiful sense. I was just filled with God's peace and love and joy. It's really hard to describe. It really is a peace that truly passes all understanding. I knew I wasn't alone. I knew Jesus was there with me. And even though the pain didn't go away at that beautiful moment, and I still didn't know whether I was going to live or die, I did know that if I did live, my life would never be the same because of what I experienced at that moment. As I slowly recovered from all those treatments, it was that hope and joy that it was really important to me that I would pass on to my son. It was about 7 years later. I was going to the doctors for a routine checkup, and they found another tumor, an ovarian tumor. And that night at home, after I had given the news to Kyle, and I was back in my bedroom, and I was crying, and I was struggling with what had happened that day, I wrote in my journal to Kyle. And I wrote, "Kyle, I love you. I thank God for you. If I'm not with you much longer, we'll make the time we do have count. Don't give up on your faith. It's okay to be angry with God, but just remember, life without our Lord isn't worth living. But with faith in Jesus, we can touch the lives of others. We can know we will make a difference, no matter how long we live." I wanted my son to know, no matter what happened, that it wasn't really about how long I lived, but that we always had the hope for a better future with Jesus, whether I was healed or not. Well, the good news is that tumor was completely removed, and I didn't have to have any more treatments. I did get to see Kyle graduate from high school. He got a full scholarship in college, and 4 years later, right before his last NCAA swim championship, here's what he wrote in his journal. He said, "Mom, even though you weren't there all the time to see me swim," for example, during his high school championships, I missed 1 year because I was in the hospital having surgery. Kyle said, I was always thankful and loved when you could come. You taught me to trust in God, to rely on Him, and to never give up hope. And that's my prayer for each one of us today. No matter what we face, how dark it gets, how much we struggle or suffer, we must never lose hope. Hope being our Lord Jesus Christ.